Mute Findings is a powerful volume management tool within Security Command Center. It allows you to automatically silence findings based on criteria you specify or manually silence individual findings. This feature is relevant for many potential use cases. For example, assets within non-production environments where some stricter requirements may not be applicable. Recommendations to use customer-managed encryption keys in projects that don't contain critical data. When granting broad access on a data store which intentionally is open to the public and disseminates public information. Or for findings not relevant to your organization based on your company's policies. Muted findings don't appear by default in the Security Command Center dashboard. However, they continue to be logged and can be accessed as needed. There are two ways you can mute findings. You can create mute rules that automatically mute findings as they are generated, or you can choose to mute and unmute individual findings. Let's see this feature in action. Currently, we are located at the Security Command Center Findings tab for a specific project. We'll focus on a category of findings that are generated when bucket logging is disabled. Suppose we want to silence findings within this category. We can use the Mute Findings feature to hide them. As you can see, we can select individual findings to mute and unmute using the Mute Options menu, but you can also create a mute rule to automatically mute findings as they are generated based on a criteria. First, we'll give the mute rule an ID. Note that this rule will apply to all findings generated within the resource that we have selected. Now, we'll set up the filter by selecting category equal to bucket logging disabled. After clicking Apply, we can preview any existing findings that match this filter. Once this rule is implemented, all existing and new findings that exactly match the filter will be hidden, and the mute attribute for the findings will be set to muted. One thing to note, if you are creating mute rules with the G-Cloud tool or Security Command Center API, muting existing and future findings are two separate operations. So be sure to check out the documentation for details. After clicking Save, we'll return to the Security Command Center and review our findings. Our new mute rule has taken effect, and we can no longer see any findings in the bucket logging disabled category. As mentioned, mute rules created in the console will mute both existing and future findings that match the filter. So let's create another bucket to see how future findings are handled. We're back. After creating a new bucket, we can see that no additional findings in the bucket logging disabled category are visible. However, findings that are muted are not deleted, and new findings that match mute rules continue to be logged. As such, they can be viewed by selecting More Options and choosing Include Muted Findings. Now, we can see the muted findings, including the additional finding that was just created for our new bucket. The Include Muted Findings option is useful when you are trying to review all findings for any audit or compliance needs. Now, if we would like to review only the muted findings, we can apply a filter, mute equals muted. In these muted findings, we can see when a finding was muted and who muted the finding, which we can use for audit purposes at any time. We can also configure any notifications that we've set up to exclude updates from any new or existing findings that are muted. Mute rules can be managed from the Mute Settings page. On this page, we can view our rules, edit them, and delete them. When we delete a rule, it doesn't unmute any findings that were muted in the past as a result of this rule, but future findings will no longer be muted. Congratulations! You're now equipped to use the Mute Findings feature in Security Command Center as a customizable volume management tool.